you're thinking about moving to Northern Virginia, here's something you need to understand first. Depending on who you ask, you're gonna hear two completely different opinions of this place. Some people will tell you it's one of the best places in the entire country to live, work, and raise a family, and they're absolutely right. However, other people will tell you it's overpriced, overcrowded, stressful, and not worth it. And honestly, they're not wrong either. So in this video, I'm giving you the real pros and cons of living in Northern Virginia, not the sales pitch version, not the doom and gloom version, just the honest version from someone who actually has been living it since the year 2000. And you're not gonna wanna miss it, so let's dive right into it. Boom! Hey everybody, it's David, your favorite realtor. So let's kick this video off with the first pro, and without question, this is the #1 reason why most people relocate here in the first place, and that is employment and career opportunities. If you're looking to take your career to the next level, there's almost no better place in the entire country than Northern Virginia. You've got the federal government, government contractors, defense contractors, cybersecurity, tech, AI, healthcare, data centers, and so much more. Then you have major employers all throughout the region, like Amazon in Arlington, major tech companies in Reston, and Fairfax County alone is home to 10 Fortune 500 company headquarters. And I swear, every other person I meet in Northern Virginia either works for Amazon, tech, or the federal government. So because of all the opportunities in our region, the income potential here is unlimited. This is why Northern Virginia has the first and the 5th wealthiest county in the entire country, with Loudoun County coming in at #1 and Fairfax County coming in at #5. And I can tell you this from personal experience, I moved here from Jacksonville, Florida back in 2000, and I know for certain, had I stayed in Florida, my career opportunities would have been significantly more limited and I would be making a lot less money. Now granted, my cost of living down there would have been substantially lower, but we're gonna talk more about the cost of living later on in the video. But here's the bottom line, if you're relocating here for a new job, there's a very good chance you're arriving with a nice pay increase as well. And that is a huge win. The next major pro is lifestyle variety. And this is something a lot of people don't fully appreciate until they actually get here. So Northern Virginia is not just one type of place, it's not just a city, it's not just a suburb, it's not just luxury homes, it's not just rural farmland. You can find almost every lifestyle here, and that's one of the best parts about living in this region. First, places like Arlington give you more of an urban, walkable city-style lifestyle with high-rise condos, walkable neighborhoods, nightlife, metro access, and a much easier commute into DC. Then if you want more of a suburban, family-friendly lifestyle with big master plan communities, with top-notch amenities, newer homes, and town centers, then places like Ashburn, Brambleton, and Lansdowne are gonna check all those boxes. Then if you want the luxury side of Northern Virginia with larger homes, stunning estates, and some of the most expensive real estate in the whole region, well, that's gonna be McLean and Great Falls. And if you want land, privacy, mountain views, wineries, and a slower pace of life while still having access to everything Northern Virginia has to offer, then that's gonna be Western Loudoun County. That's what makes this region so unique. You can be in Arlington with DC right next door, and then an hour later, you're in a winery in Loudoun County with mountain views that make you feel like you're in a completely different state. So whatever lifestyle you're looking for, there's a very good chance you're gonna find it somewhere in Northern Virginia. Now, if you wanna learn more about what it's like living, working, and thriving in Northern Virginia, hit that subscribe button because I'm releasing new insider guide videos every single week that you're not gonna wanna miss. The next pro is highly rated schools. Now, having a great career that pays well is awesome, but being a father myself, what matters even more is setting up our kids for success. And a great way to do that is by sending them to highly rated schools, and highly rated schools you will absolutely find here. So according to niche.com's 2026 rankings, Northern Virginia has 4 of the top 7 school districts in the entire state of Virginia. You've got Falls Church City coming in at #2, Arlington County coming in at #3, Loudoun County coming in at #4, and Fairfax County coming in at #7. Now, with all that being said, not every school in Northern Virginia is going to be highly rated, so definitely do your own research ahead of time. And don't just go off the rankings alone. But overall, the school culture here is strong, academics are a big priority, and most schools have a heavy focus on college and career readiness. So for most families relocating to Northern Virginia, the education system is one of the biggest selling points, and rightfully so. The next pro is having 2 major airports right in your backyard. First, you've got Dulles International Airport, which is located on the Fairfax and Loudoun County border. Then you've got Reagan National Airport in Arlington. And let me tell you this, having 2 airports nearby is absolutely awesome. Because every time I'm booking a flight, I'm looking at both airports. Sometimes Dulles has a better deal, sometimes Reagan has a better deal, and sometimes I fly out of one and back into the other. And that flexibility is huge. So whether you travel for work, vacations, family trips, or last-minute getaways, having both airports nearby is a major quality of life perk. However, having 2 airports does come at a price. As many areas throughout a region, you are going to hear airplane noise. Now, some areas are definitely worse than others, and I happen to live in one of the worst areas for airplane noise. So I personally live in Ashburn, which is about 10 miles away from Dulles International Airport. Now, when I'm inside of my house with the windows closed, I barely notice it, but if I go outside, whether it's on my balcony or I'm going for a walk, within 5 minutes, I'm gonna hear airplane noise that sounds just like this. Now, I personally don't think it's that bad. At worst, it's a small inconvenience, and it should definitely not be a deal breaker. So yes, having 2 airports is absolutely a pro. You just have to understand, depending on where you live, airplane noise might be part of the package. The next pro is high quality of life. So I've personally lived in 4 different states, over a dozen different towns, and Northern Virginia ranks extremely high when it comes to overall quality of life. As we talked about earlier, here in Northern Virginia, you're gonna find strong career opportunities, highly rated schools, low crime in many areas, parks and recs all throughout the region, amazing restaurants, top-notch shopping, and Washington, D.C. is right in your backyard. Also, there's always something to do here. On any given day, you can go hiking at Great Falls Park and see the stunning waterfall views of the Potomac River, or you can go to happy hour at Reston Town Center, or take the family to the carnival at One Loudoun, or check out the wineries in Western Loudoun County, or go shopping at Tyson's Corner, or head into DC for museums, monuments, and sporting events. So you will never be bored living here. So whether you are raising a family, building your career, or just trying to enjoy your weekends, Northern Virginia gives you a lot of options. So yes, this area is expensive, and we're absolutely gonna get into that, but there's a reason why so many people are willing to pay the price to live here. And that's because the quality of life is very high. Now, as much as I love making YouTube videos about living right here in Northern Virginia, what I love even more is helping folks just like you relocate to the area. So if you're even thinking about moving to Northern Virginia, reach out to me, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. Just know I got your back when you move into Northern Virginia. All right, now let's get into the cons, and we're starting with the big one. And by far, the biggest con of living in Northern Virginia is the high cost of living. And I'm not just talking about housing, I'm talking about housing and daycare. And when I tell you here shortly how much I pay for daycare, you literally might cancel your plans to move here. Let's start off with housing. So the median sales price for a home in Northern Virginia comes out to $720,000. Now, to put that into context, the national median sales price comes out to around $436,000. So home prices here are 65% higher than the country as a whole. And that is a mind-blowing number. And here's what makes it tougher. That $720,000 doesn't get you some big, beautiful single-family home like it does in most of the country. In Northern Virginia, that gets you a 2,000 square foot townhouse or a much older and smaller single-family home. Now, I see this all the time with people relocating here. Somebody's moving from, let's say, Texas or Indiana, and they're selling their beautiful, built in 2020, 3,500 square foot single family home for only $600,000. Then they come to Northern Virginia and realize that same home here could easily cost $1.2 to $1.5 million, maybe even more depending on the location. And that is when the sticker shock hits hard. Now let's talk about daycare, and this one is truly insane. So my 3-year-old daughter goes to daycare here in Ashburn, and I remember when I started doing my research a couple of years ago, I literally called the 15 closest daycares to my house, and every single one of them was in the same price range, between $2,000 and $2,500 per month. And I was absolutely shocked. I had no idea how expensive daycare was. So my wife and I paid $2,300 per month. That is literally more expensive than the mortgage payment on my first condo here in Ashburn. And that $2,300 a month is pretty much par for the course in our area. But the good news is it's only 2 more years until she starts kindergarten, but I'm sure there'll be some new monthly expense I'm not foreseeing. So if you are relocating to Northern Virginia and you have little ones that need daycare, just be prepared. It's extremely expensive and you have to budget for it. Now, here's the thing to think about. Chances are you are relocating here for a new career opportunity, and there's a high probability that's coming in with a nice pay increase as well. But before you make the move, you have to make sure that increase in pay is actually enough to cover for the higher cost of living in our region. Because the last thing you want is to move here yes, you make more money, but your purchasing power is less than what you're leaving behind. So yes, without question, the biggest con of living in Northern Virginia is our high cost of living. The next con is traffic, and this is everybody's favorite thing to complain about in Northern Virginia. So who likes sitting in traffic? Well, I know I don't. Well, according to usnews.com, the DC area has the 8th worst traffic in the entire country. And that's for the whole DMV with DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And this absolutely translates to terrible traffic here in Northern Virginia. So a good rule of thumb is the closer you get to DC, the worse the traffic gets. And what really adds to the traffic in our region is the growing population, non-stop road construction, and accidents. So here's a pro tip, and I know this is easier said than done, but try to avoid 495 and 66 during rush hour, because getting on those highways at the wrong time can literally make you feel like you're stuck in a parking lot. Now, I've had people comment on my past videos saying that I'm exaggerating about the traffic, and I always say the same thing. Go driving 495 or 66 during rush hour, then come back and tell me how much I'm exaggerating. So yes, there's no sugarcoating it. The traffic in Northern Virginia is definitely brutal. But just think of it as the price of admission for living in such a great area. Now, the next con, and this is one of my least favorite parts about living here, is taxes. Specifically, the personal property tax and the meals tax. So let's start off with the personal property tax, aka the car tax. So here in Virginia, we have sales tax and real estate taxes just like the rest of the country. But we also have a personal property tax, which is a tax levied on the ownership of personal property like cars, motorcycles, trucks, boats, campers, trailers, and planes. But since most people don't own boats and planes, but everybody owns a car, that is why it's commonly referred to as the car tax here in Virginia. Now, 24 other states have a personal property tax as well, but Virginia has the highest in the entire nation. So the tax rate's not gonna be the same for all of Virginia, and it's gonna vary by county, city, or town. So the county I personally live in, which is Loudoun County, the personal property tax rate comes out to $4.15 per $100 of assessed value. So let me tell you what I paid on my last car tax bill, and this number is gonna shock you. So my household has 2 cars, a 2024 BMW X5 and a 2021 Tesla Model 3. So my combined 2025 car tax bill came out to $2,400, and that one hurt big time. And there's a million other things I'd rather spend $2,400 on, like 1 month on my daughter's daycare tab. Now, the only saving grace is that your car tax bill should go down every year as your car's value goes down. In fact, my 2025 car tax bill of $2,400 was actually almost $800 less than it was the year before. Then you have the meals tax. So when you relocate to Northern Virginia, you may notice that your restaurant bill is a little bit higher than you expected. And it's not just because the menu prices are higher. You're gonna find the meals tax on your bill, which is an extra charge on all prepared food and drinks. So whether you're going out to a restaurant for food and drinks, or grabbing coffee at Starbucks, or getting pizza delivered to your house, you will now be paying 4% more. And this is in addition to the 6% sales tax that's already in place. So you will now be paying 10% in total taxes when you buy prepared food and drinks. This is definitely one of those death by 1,000 cut expenses that really add up over time. So most of Northern Virginia has a meals tax, including Arlington County, Prince William County, and Fairfax County. But Loudoun County is mostly the exception unless you're inside the town of Leesburg. But I'm sure it's just a matter of time before Loudoun County adds a meals tax. Now, this definitely should not be a deal breaker, but it's definitely something you need to know before moving here. The next con is toll roads. And this one can either feel like a small convenience fee or a monthly subscription service that you didn't sign up for. So Northern Virginia has toll roads and express lanes all over the place. In fact, there are 7 different toll roads throughout the region. So the newest and most expensive toll in the area is the I-66 express lanes, which has actually been a game changer for avoiding traffic, but it comes at a price. So the 66 express lane toll prices change based on traffic. So the more congested it is, the more expensive it gets. And it can get really high. We're talking up to $40 for a single trip. Now, I definitely would not want to pay that on a daily basis, but in a pinch, it is worth it. In fact, recently I was running late to an appointment and traffic on 66 was barely moving. So I decided to jump on the express lanes, and suddenly I'm driving 65 miles an hour while everyone in the free lanes is going 5 to 10 miles per hour. And I got to my appointment right on time. So if traffic is terrible and you're running late, jumping into the express lanes can literally save your day. But if you're using the toll roads every single day, it adds up fast. In fact, I personally know people who spend between $250 and $350 per month on tolls. And I personally spend about $50 to $100 a month, and that's because I'm constantly driving around the region for real estate and filming content for this YouTube channel. But here's the good news, toll roads are absolutely avoidable. It just might take you a little longer to get to your destination. And the next con is housing and lifestyle compromises. And this might be the most important one on this entire list. Because when people move to Northern Virginia, a lot of them come here with a very specific picture in their head. It seems everybody wants a big single family home, newer construction, great schools, a short commute to work, walkability, restaurants nearby, low traffic, all for under $1 million. Well, unfortunately, that basically does not exist. At least not all in one package. So unless you have an unlimited budget, you're gonna have to make compromises somewhere. So if you wanna be closer to DC, like in areas like Arlington, McLean, or Falls Church, you will definitely be paying a premium, dealing with more traffic, smaller lots, older homes, and less house for the money. But if you want newer homes, more space, master plan communities, and better overall value, then you're looking farther out west like Loudoun and Prince William County. But now your commute to DC or Arlington will be absolutely brutal. So it's all about the trade-off. And this is why I always tell people this. You have to figure out your top 3 priorities, because if everything's important, then nothing is important. So ask yourself, what matters most? Is it the commute? Is it the schools? Is it the house? Is it the price? Is it the lifestyle? Or is it the neighborhood? Once you know that, it becomes so much easier to figure out where in Northern Virginia you should actually be living. And if you want to continue your research on what it's like living in Northern Virginia, check out this video right here, because I share with you the real cost of living in Northern Virginia, and trust me, you're not going to want to miss it, and I'll see you on the next video.